guys, I'm the old guy in the rocking chair. I got a couple of maps here. They're motor vehicle use maps for the Black Hills National Forest. They're published by the U.S. Forest Service. I'll show you what they look like. This. And this. And there's two of them. Okay? Here's another one. I'm trying not to get too excited here, but I want to show you these other ones, okay? Oh, look at that. Look at that. There it is. Okay. There they are. All right, two of them. One north, one south. Okay? I'm going to show you what they're good for. All right? Just take these things, wrap them up like this. You can do this with any map. Every time you get your trail permit, they're going to give you a map. They'd like to see you carry them with you, okay? But that's not what they're good for. What they're really good for is keeping your fire going. They're worthless. They're worthless, okay? But they burn nice, okay? And I suppose that's a bad use of resources for the national forest. I mean, it is our tax money after all. Well, actually it's not. You buy your trail permit, supposedly the money you pay for your trail permit goes for publishing maps. But instead of giving you a map, okay, let's go. Alright, let me show you this thing. Alright, instead of giving you a map, let's get it right side up so you can see it. Alright. Instead of giving you a map that you can use in color with landmarks on it so you know where you are, they give you this, basically a list of trails, okay? And these trails are marked, they're numbered, but when you're out in the woods, you don't have a clue where you are. This map is, in my opinion, worthless. Okay. But I'm here to tell you something better. In these videos, I'm going to tell you where to ride in the Black Hills. And I'm going to tell you what kind of trails to expect when you ride in a particular spot. And unfortunately, when I do that, I won't be able to sit in my rocking chair of wisdom. I have to go out in the world. And since it's January, it's going to be cold. It was really cold. But I'm willing to do that for you guys, because I really think that there's a lot of great riding in the trails. And when you get out there, the trails are kind of numbered, usually, if somebody hasn't torn down the signs or something. But people who don't live here, and we've been here a long time, I've been here a long time, people who don't live here don't really have a clue as to what kind of trail to expect. You might go online, you might look at some point of view videos that people post about riding in the hills and everything, but what I'm going to do is take you out and show you the different portions of the hills, whether it's the northern hills or southern hills or the plateau area or the canyon lands or historical parts of the hills. I'm going to help you figure out where you want to ride. If you want to ride on grassy trails, that's good. If you want to ride in deep snow, that's good. If you want to find historical sites, I can show you that. I may have to do this in a couple videos, but right now I'm going to just give you an overview of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of my rocking chair of wisdom, and I mean, an old guy like me, getting out of a rocking chair is a big deal. But once I do that, I'll take you out on a field trip and give you some real ideas as to where you ought to be riding. So here we go. Hi, we're having a field trip here. We're at the Black Hills Badlands and Lake Association Visitor Center here in Rapid City, South Dakota. This is right off Interstate 90 on exit 61. And if you're coming from the east, I would recommend this be your first stop. We like this particular display here, and I'm going to use it to explain some of the riding opportunities of the Black Hills. But I've also been informed that if you need to get a trail pass, you can get one here. They're open 7 days a week. In the summertime, they're open even a little bit later. So what I'm going to do here is give you just a brief outline of what the Black Hills look like. This is probably better than any map or anything else. As you can see, it's about 110 miles from here to here, and about 60 miles wide at the widest point. Now there are more mountains back over here. I'm not going to talk about them today. But what I am going to talk about is the geology of the Black Hills and how it affects your riding. Okay? And there's basically 3 or 4 different areas of the hills that we like to split it into. There's the southern hills down here, there's the central hills here, and there's the northern hills here. Now that makes a lot of sense, I suppose. But on top of that, there's some other things you need to be thinking about, is because if you go in the center area around through here, that's the Black Hills Mining District. That's where all the historical sites are located. If you go back in here, this is what we call canyon country. Spearfish Canyon is right through here. There's more canyons here. And this is kind of like the snow belt. We talk about that in the winter time, where you get a lot of snow up in this area, right up to the top of the hills. And then as you get to the more in the east of the hills, you got a lot less snow. And in some cases, almost no snow in the winter time. There is one exception to that, however. That's in the early spring, when the winds tend to change. We get warm wind coming up from the Gulf, and you can get snow on the eastern slopes, and a great deal of it. So when you're actually looking to ride, depending on what you're interested in, if you go down to the southern hills here, you'll see by the topography that it's not really as steep, it's not as rugged. Many of the trails down there are grassy trails. Unfortunately, beginning right here at about Jewel Cave and going south, there was a major forest fire about 10 years ago, which means that most of these hills are barren. You don't see a lot of trees on them. Some of the riding features you're likely to find in the southern hills is easy trails, grass trails, not a lot of steep slopes or rocky trails or things. And the other thing is there's some caves down here that are worth visiting. You've got Ice Cave, you've got Bear Trap Cave, and you've got a couple other caves that are within easy riding. Generally, that's good riding from Custer. If you go more towards Pringle, which is right in that area, and go a little bit to the west towards Wind Cave, which is right on the far edge over there, from about Pringle down to Hot Springs, which is located right down there, there are some good trails there, and it's not a very popular area or a very busy area for riding. All right, as you move up further in the hills, you run into some limitations on to where you can ride. You cannot ride in the Mount Rushmore area. You can't ride in Custer State Park, and you can't ride in Wind Cave down there, nor can you ride in Jewel Cave. So that limits your riding basically from the area to the west of Harney Peak there. And again, you can't ride in that area either, because that's the Black Elk Wilderness area. So most of your riding in the Central Hills is going to be from about Highway 385 west. And there are some very good trails. If you come out Deerfield Road, there's Deerfield Road, there's Deerfield Lake. Right in this area here, there's a big trail system that's very popular. Another popular area to ride this is called Reynolds Prairie here. And if you go to the area north and west of Reynolds Prairie, there's lots of trails. Down towards that lake right there, that's called Pactola Lake. On either side of Pactola Lake, there's a lot of trails. The only thing to bear in mind there is in this particular area, there's a lot of seasonal clothing. Let's edit that out. Okay, there's a lot of seasonal closings in that area. There's They close from the middle of December to the middle of May, so you really can't ride in a lot of areas there. As you get further north here, in what we like to call canyon country, the big canyon, of course, is Spearfish Canyon here. Not a lot of riding right by Spearfish Canyon because a lot of the land there is private. And that also holds true for Deadwood right here. There's a great deal of private land there, so riding opportunities are limited. The exception to that is Galena, and the Galena area, which is right about there. And in the Galena area, there's a lot of riding there, but it's again seasonal riding. The trails in the Galena area, they tend to close from the middle of December to the middle of May. If you come up to this area of the Black Hills, this is the snow belt. And if you want to do wintertime riding, you probably don't want to ride here because you can have standing snow up here that's going to be 5-6 feet deep. And you can have drifts that are much deeper. Also in this area and through here, all the way through here, that's snowmobile territory in the winter. And you cannot ride on snowmobile trails. You generally have to avoid them. So we don't recommend riding here in the winter, but when the trails are open and you can go, that's a good riding area in there. Now the other thing you might want to think about is technical riding versus just standard riding. If you like just open trail, run down the trail as fast and do that kind of stuff, go to the Southern Hills. If you want to do technical riding, go into the more rugged territory here and here as well. Okay, you have areas there where the trails are steep and rocky and rough and everything else. There's side hilling, and that's a popular area for people who really like to get into the trail thing. A popular jump-off place for that is out here on Nemo Road, right over there. I can show you on a map better. But at Nemo Road, there's the Nemo Guest Ranch, and it's a very popular riding spot. People like to go there. They can ride off to either east or west. You can go all the way down to the Piedmont area from there, and you can go all the way back up into this area here. Popular areas that you're likely to hear about, you're going to hear about Deerfield, which is up in this area. You're going to hear about the Mystic area, which is in this general vicinity. You're going to hear about 385 and Pilot Knob, Dalton Lake, and that's in that area. And you're going to hear about Galena, which is up in there. You're going to hear about Custer. There's a nice place down here called Comanche Campground. It's operated by the Forest Service. A lot of trails go off in there. But if you're going to ride down here in the summertime, make sure you got sunscreen, because there ain't no trees, as they say here. We would prefer to say there aren't no trees, but you know how that goes. Anyway, that's a general overall view of where to ride in the Black Hills. And if you want to ride in other places, you're going to be somewhat restricted. Over here, for example, is Bear Butte. Almost no riding in that area. And as you get down in this part of the hills, you run into a lot of private land. So there's not a lot of riding there. There is some in this little area there, but it's kind of isolated and far away. I think that's probably about it. I can't think of anything else. If you're interested, let me back up here again. That would be it, but if you're interested in historical sites, if you want to see the mining districts, okay, you can go all the way from Keystone up to Deadwood. This whole area in there is old gold mining districts. It's spotted with old mines, some relics and things. Not nearly as many as there used to be, but there are plenty of things to see there that aren't just scenery. The only caution I would give you is a lot of that stuff is on private land. So if you see an old mine building or something that's still standing, it's probably not public land, so you can't go into it. And bear that in mind, okay? If it's posted, you definitely want to stay out of there, all right? So that's a general overlook, a general feeling about how this goes. And if you have any questions, just post them in the comment. And like I said, your first stop ought to be this visitor center. We have some videos of it online where you can see what they have to offer. If you're a newbie and just off the boat got, and you want information about the Black Hills, they have people here who can talk to you about it. And of course, the best part is that you can get your trail passes here. You don't have to wait for the parks you don't have to wait for the Forest Service to open their offices. So that's about it. I hope I hope this helps you a little bit. We will be discussing each of the various riding areas in a lot more detail, but I wanted to give you an overall view of how the Black Hills lay, and you know, what you should expect. I will also be talking about some of the places to stay in the Black Hills. If you want to stay in motels, Rapid City has a ton of them. There's lots of motels in Rapid City. There's also motels in Deadwood and Sturgis and Custer and Hill City and Keystone. If you want to camp, now your limitations, especially if you want to ride from a campground, you're going to be looking at places like Nemo, or the areas up around Deadwood and Lead, or the areas near Custer, because that's where the bulk of the camping takes place. The other thing I would point out is that if you do want to use your ATV in a place like Custer State Park, you need to have a road license, and that's basically limited to people from South Dakota. And you must stay on roads, which is basically all tarmac driving. So we don't recommend going there on an ATV. The same is true with Wind Cave National Park. We don't recommend that for any ATVs. But anyway, if you have any questions about this, like I said, feel free to comment. If you think this video is helpful, go ahead and like us. We also receive our private email. The address is listed at the back. So thank you for your attention, and I'm glad if you were still with me, I'm glad you stuck with me. And I appreciate your continued support for this channel. Thank you very much. That's all there is to it. Yeah.